Hello everybody, so welcome back to PW International Boards, and in today's session we are going to cover one very important topic for your exams, that is transformations. So talking about the session, it is going to be a very short but an informative session for you. So let's just try to figure out what all topics we are going to cover in this session. So in this session we are going to cover the topics that includes reflection, rotation, translation and enlargement. But before moving on to these topics, let's firstly understand that what is transformation. So whenever we say transformation or whenever you find this word transformation written in your exams or in your paper, that simply means that we are talking about changing the shape or the size of any image. That is what we mean when we say transformation. So now let's just understand the different parts of transformation. So moving to the first part which involves reflection. So let's firstly understand that what actually happens during reflection. So during reflection, the object undergoes a flip movement along a mirror line. That means the object is going to flip whenever a reflection is happening. So let's try to understand this thing with the help of an example, that where is actually the mirror line in this given example and how are we be able to find out the mirror line. So let's understand that now. So in this, if we need to find out the mirror line, we are going to join the corresponding points. So here if I talk about to this point, if we look for the corresponding point, this is this point, and further if we talk about the corresponding point from this is this point, right? So what we are going to do is we are simply going to join the corresponding points in order to get the mirror line here. So let's join the corresponding points here and find out the midpoint of it. Let's mark the midpoint of these joining lines, right? So if we talk about the midpoints, this is one midpoint and this is the other midpoint. So simply what we are going to do is we will be joining the midpoints that we have marked. So this is how we are going to get the mirror line here. Is that clear? So we are just going to write the equation of the mirror line. So here clearly we can see this thing, that this line is nothing but y is equal to 0. So we will just be writing it as y is equal to 0, which is the mirror line here. Now let's move to the next one. Now moving to one more example where we are going to find out the mirror line. So let's understand this thing with the help of one more example. In this question, again we are going to look for the corresponding points here, which is this point and this point. And if we talk about the other set of the corresponding points, it goes as these 2 points, right? So we are going to follow the same steps here as well, that we are going to join the corresponding points and later on we will be looking for the midpoint of them, right? So once we have joined the points, let's look for the midpoint of it and let's mark the midpoint here. Clearly we can observe this thing, that the midpoint is here as well as here. So in that case we are going to just join the midpoints here. So let's join the midpoints using the scale now. Let's do it. So this line that we have got here is going to be the mirror line, right? If it is being asked in the question that you need to write down the equation of this line, definitely you can do it, as here what we can observe that this line is y is equal to 2 line. Okay? Moving forward, it is not always going to be a case where you will be getting the mirror line as y is equal to a certain number or x is equal to a certain number. That means it is not going to be the case always where you will be having your mirror line parallel to the x or the y axis. It can be in other forms as well. So let's try to draw the mirror line in this scenario where it is neither parallel to x axis nor parallel to the y axis. Okay? Now in this, following the same steps, let's look for the corresponding points. So here if I talk about this as one point, its corresponding point is this one. While if we are going to consider this point, its corresponding point is going to be here, right? So let's just join these points and look for the midpoint of it. So I'm just joining the points for now. So this is how we are going to join the points. Now let's mark the midpoint of these, right? Let's mark the midpoints. So clearly if we talk about the midpoint, this is where we can see the midpoint of these lines. So now the next step is we are going to join the midpoints using the scale. So let's do it, and we will be getting the mirror line here. So let's join the midpoints using the scale, and this is what we are going to get as the mirror line here for the reflection. Later on you can write the equation of this line as well. I hope this question is clear now. Moving forward, let's try to understand the second point of transformation, which involves rotation. So if we talk about rotation, whenever an object rotates about a specific point, in that case we need to know the point along which that particular shape is rotating, which is known as the center of rotation. Along with this, we also need to know that to what angle that particular shape is rotating, and by that we will be able to find out the angle of rotation. So in this given figure, we will be understanding how to find out the center of rotation and angle of rotation. Let's learn it now. In order to mark the center of rotation and the angle of rotation, let's look for the corresponding points here. So clearly if I talk about the corresponding point to this point here, if we are just going to have a look, so that it is going to be this point that we can see as the corresponding point. Further, if after that what we are going to do is, let's just join these points with a dotted line. Okay, so let's join them with a dotted line. This is what we are going to get. After that, we are going to look for one more pair of corresponding points here. Let's say here we are marking these 2 points. In order to make your job easier, let's mark these points as P and P dash and Q and Q dash. Right? So now what we are going to do is, we are going to join the points Q and Q dash here. Let's join them using a dotted line. Now after this, the next step that you are going to follow here is, you are going to make the perpendicular bisectors of the line PP dash and QQ dash respectively. So let's go ahead with it. So if we need to make the perpendicular bisectors here, we are going to use our compass. So let's go ahead with it. We are going to take more than half of the distance here in order to make the perpendicular bisectors, right? So this is what we have got as a perpendicular bisector of PP dash. Let's join these lines. This is how it is going to be. Now after this, we are going to make the perpendicular bisector for QQ dash as well, and let's just figure out that where are they going to meet now. Okay, let's try to make the perpendicular bisector for QQ dash as well. So now once we are going to make an arc keeping the compass at Q and the other one at QQ dash. So this is how we have got the arcs. Now we are just going to join them, right? So let's just join them. So I am using different colors so that it is easier for you to understand the same. So I will just be joining these 2 lines. So clearly if we talk about both the perpendicular bisectors, we can see this thing that both the perpendicular bisectors are meeting at this particular point. And what are the coordinates of this particular point? The coordinates of this particular point are 2, 7. So that is what we are going to get as the center of rotation here. Okay, so the point where both the perpendicular bisectors will be meeting is known as the center of rotation here. Okay, so let me just mention it here for your understanding that the center of rotation here is 2, 7. Now further, if we need to understand that what is the angle of rotation here, in that case we are going to consider the other points here as well. The third coordinates that we are being left with, let's name this as r and r dash. Okay, so what we are going to do, simply we are going to join the point, the center of rotation. Let me just label this as C here, right? So we are going to join RC and R dash C. Let's join it. Right, so this is how we have joined them. Now we are going to use a protector in order to find out the angle of rotation. So you are going to use a protector here and you will be measuring this angle, that what is the value of this angle. So exactly what we can see here, that we are getting the value of this angle as 90 degree. So that is the angle of rotation here. Is that clear? Understood? So if we talk about the angle of rotation here, so angle of rotation is going to be 90 degree. Angle of rotation is equal to 90 degree. I hope that we have understood how to find out the center of rotation and angle of rotation in any of the question. Now let's head towards the next topic, which is translation. So whenever the word translation comes, it is going to be quite an easy thing for you, where we will just be focusing on that translation is nothing but the straight sliding. That clearly means that there isn't going to be any change in the shape of the object, right? There isn't going to be any enlargement happening. It is going to be simply that we are going to shift the particular shape from one place to another place. And then we will be understanding that, okay, to how many x coordinates we are shifting that particular shape, or to how many y coordinates we are shifting that particular shape. Okay, so let's try to understand the straight sliding, or we call it as translation, with the help of these two examples. Now understanding translation, as I simply said this thing, that it is straight sliding. So let's just see that how this sliding happens here. So clearly if I talk about when the vector is given as 6, 3, so this is what we mean by x and this is what we mean by y. So clearly if I talk about what is happening, that this particular triangle is shifting 6 units towards the positive x-axis and 3 units towards the positive y-axis, right? So positive x means clearly the right movement, and positive y means that we are shifting, we are sliding it towards the top. So here what is happening, that if I talk about this particular point, let's take this as P point here. Right, so in the x-axis the movement is 6 units towards the right. So what we can observe here is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 units towards the right, and then 3 units towards the top. So clearly if we move 3 units towards the top, this is where we are going to get the image as P dash here. Okay, now let's try to understand for other points as well, right? If we need to understand for this point, which let's name this as Q. So it is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units towards the positive x-axis or towards the right, and then as the y, it goes for 3 here, so it is going to be 3 units towards the top. So we are going to reach here, which is Q dash. Similarly, we have made the other point here as well, which is R. So let's just observe that how many steps we are moving. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units towards the right and 3 units towards the top. This is how we are going to get the image here, right? So, and this is how translation happens. Understanding one more example here. If we need to learn straight sliding here, in that case, if we talk about the initial image that we have is A, B, C, D. Okay, so what we can understand, that if it is -4, that means this movement is towards the left, and if it is 5, then that means this movement is towards the top. So let's understand from point A what is happening. It is going to move 4 units towards the left, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 units towards the top. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is how the translation is going to happen. Now let's understand the same thing for the point B here. So B is going to move 4 units towards the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 units towards the top, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So this is where we are going to have, so 5 units towards the top here. So this is where we are going to have the point B dash, right? Let's label them. Further, if we are going to learn about the point C, it is going to move 4 units towards the left, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 units towards the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is where we are going to have the point C dash. So clearly what we can understand here is it is nothing but the straight sliding that is happening here. Talking about the point D, it is going to move 4 units towards the left, 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 units towards the top, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So this is where we are going to have the point D dash. Okay. Moving forward, let's solve a question where we need to make the figure after the translation by the vector -2, -5. So let's try to draw it now. In this, if we need to move it, if we need to do the sliding from -2, -5, that clearly -2 means here that it is going to move towards the left, while -5 means it is going to move towards the downside, right? So let's just mark all the corresponding points here. Firstly, let's label them as A, B, C and D. Okay. So further, if we are going to just mark all the points, A is going 2 units towards the left and 5 units down, right? So 1, 2 units towards the left and 5 units down, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is where we are going to have the point A dash. Further, if we talk about the point B, again it is going to move 2 units towards the left and 5 units down, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, right? So this is where we are going to get the point B dash. Further, if we talk about the point C, same thing is going to happen here as well. 1, 2 units towards the left and then 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is where we are going to get our point C dash. And if we talk about the point D, it is going to be 2 units towards the left and then 5 units down, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is where we are going to get our point D dash. Now we are just going to use a scale to mark the final diagram here, that how our final figure will look like. So let's just join all the corresponding points that we have got here. So this is what we are going to get as the resulting figure after sliding. Later on, if we want, then we can show the arrows as well, which shows sliding here. So let's just make them. So if we talk about the sliding arrows that we are going to make, so this is one sliding that we can observe. This is going to be the other edge which is sliding. Further, we can make for B and C as well in the similar manner. This is how the sliding will happen and this is how your resulting figure will look like. Is that clear? Moving forward, let's understand one more important topic of transformation, that is enlargement. So if we talk about enlargement, as you all are familiar with the similar triangles or the similar figures. So enlargement is nothing much but just a part of the enlargement which says the resulting image is mathematically similar to the object but of a different size. So if we talk about the shape of the initial image and the resulting image, they are going to be the same shapes, but the only difference that we are going to observe is the enlargement happening. Okay, so here when we are learning enlargement, there are two things that we need to know, which involves firstly that what is the center of enlargement and what is the scale factor of enlargement. So let's try to find out the center of enlargement as well as the scale factor in the given diagram. So in this, if we need to find out that what is going to be the scale factor and the center of enlargement, simply we are just going to join the corresponding points here, right? So let's just join B and B dash here. Where are we reaching? I'm just going to join B and B dash. Further, I'm going to join other corresponding points here as well, which is A and A dash here. Let me just join them as well. Simply just by joining a pair of corresponding points, you will be getting your center of enlargement. Quite an easy thing for you. So if we see here, right, whatever the intersection point that you have got, let's name this as O here. Right, so this O is going to be your center of enlargement, and whatever the coordinates of the center of enlargement are going to be, you will be mentioning that. Now talking about how are we going to find out the scale factor. So let's understand how we can find out the scale factor. So in order to find out the scale factor for any two respective sides, right, if we talk about, we just need to take the ratio of the sides, right. So we are going to take it as A dash B dash over AB. We are just going to find out the ratio of the sides. So quickly let's just check that what is the ratio here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we talk about the ratio that we can observe here is 16 over 6. If we are just going to solve it further, it is going to be 8:3. That is what we have got as the ratio of the sides here. Is that clear? Moving forward, let's just try to find out the scale factor of enlargement and the center of enlargement in this diagram as well. Let's see where it lies. So let's join the corresponding points in this as well in order to find out the center of enlargement. So if we talk about the center of enlargement here, this point is going to be your center of enlargement, which is point O here. Right, so firstly, one more important thing that I would like to tell you, you can join any two corresponding sides. Even if we are just going to join C and C dash here, then also you are going to get the same point here. Even if you would have joined D and D dash, in that case also the center of enlargement is going to be same. Now talking about that what is going to be the scale factor here, let's have a look at the ratio of the sides. So here if we talk about the ratio of the sides, it is for A dash B dash over AB. So that we are getting here as A dash B dash, we can see this thing as 6 units, while AB is 4 units. So if we talk about the scale factor, it is 3 over 2. Okay, or we can write the scale factor as 1.5 here. Is that clear? So that's all that we had to do in this session. I hope that you are able to understand all the points that we have covered in this session, and it is going to be very informative for your upcoming exams. So thank you so much everybody for joining the session.